Hey, aloha gang, Dr. Russ Rosen here, and welcome to our Facebook community, OHC community masterclass. And yep, looks like we're live. That's a good thing. And this one is on boosting your patient engagement by learning this powerful template. So this is the second of three. And as I had talked about, I'm trying to do bite-sized chunks. So I keep getting people telling me these need to be shorter. So I'm going to really shoot for a shorter one right now. And my hope is like 15 minutes. That's my goal. The last one's a half hour. So in the last one, we were talking about kind of the communications orientation and getting really clear about, now that we know who we are and what we do. That was the first two master classes. The next one is, what do I actually want to communicate in a care versus care true optimal health model? So if you haven't seen those yet, go to the guides section and then go to the third master class, and that will be there. Obviously, the first two, can't recommend enough that you go through. All right, so what I know to be true is, if you're in this community, you want to help people get healthy, stay healthy, and have the best life possible, and you want to help them find real solutions to their problems. And the reality is, oftentimes we are challenged with patients who are difficult, or they have difficult questions, or we're just not sure how to communicate with them in a way to help them really understand what it is that we're trying to get across to them. You know, my doctor told me, my real doctor told me, my RD told me that I shouldn't see you anymore. You know, those kinds of things. Or you're in a consultation and it's just going on and on and on, but you can't really zero in on what the real issue is. Or you get to the reported findings and you don't quite know how to get them to understand the difference between feeling better and functioning at their optimum. Or in the reported findings, they say, I'd love to do it, but I truly just cannot afford your care, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. So all of the communications modules that we have coming up are going to be based on the neuroscience of communications, which we'll be doing next Tuesday, and this simple concept called LASER. LASER stands for listen, acknowledge, ask, solution, resolution. And really, it's listen, acknowledge, ask a clarifying question, acknowledge, ask a clarifying question, acknowledge, ask a clarifying question, solution, resolution. So let's dive into this foundationally, so you can see, as we get into the neuroscience of communications, we get into the consult, the exam, the report of findings, etc., you can see foundationally where those are coming from, because they're all based on this. By the way, if you are out there, go ahead and say hi, say aloha, let me know you're there. I can't see it on mine, but my wife is watching right now, and she'll come and tell me if you're there, so I can say aloha. If you have any questions, go ahead and post those questions. I'll be happy to help and answer in any way I can. And if you're watching this on the replay, you have questions, go ahead and post them. I'll get them and I will answer them. Okay, so again, classically, there can be challenging questions. My RD said, I can't afford care, etc. And what we oftentimes end up doing is a non-assertive is we join the okay corral. We just go, oh, okay, well then, good luck. Hope it works out well. I'm always here for you. Or we're an assertive, and if we're an assertive, then we can offend people. Aha, so down here I can see it. So Ian Griffiths, aloha, thank you. Antoinette, welcome aboard, aloha. Oh, good, I can actually see, so I don't feel like I'm just talking to my camera right here. All right, so this is the foundation. This is just the foundation, okay? Listen, acknowledge, ask, solution, resolution. Listen, we're going to listen with our ears, and we're going to listen with our ears with our mouths closed, right? So many of us listen with our mouths open because we're talking, but we really want them to feel heard. We're going to listen between the lines for what they're truly saying. Oftentimes, they're a non-confrontational, they're a non-assertive. They don't want to say things that might be offensive to us. So we really need to listen between the lines of what they're truly saying. We don't want to finish their sentences for them. I do that a lot. We don't want to, like, I get it, I get it. That's not the point. The point is they need to say it. Okay. And there are really two important reasons to listen. One is to gather information, and the other is for them to feel heard. So those are two really important pieces of the puzzle. Now we're going to acknowledge. What are we going to acknowledge? We're going to acknowledge them as a human being. I always talk about I want you to be a human being first and a doctor second. Okay, so we're going to acknowledge them as a human being. They might be afraid or concerned to tell us something, and they might have a charge. Hey, doc, I can't see you anymore. Hey, doc, I can't come in anymore. I can't afford your care. And you hurt me last time. Whatever it is, and they might have um, anxiety about bringing this up. So we need to de-escalate the situation. We need to take the wind out of the sail. And so we want to acknowledge, and by acknowledging, that really does that. We need to be clear about, are there concerns, are there fears, and if so, why? Why do we need to do that to get them out of their fear or out of their anxiety? Well, the first reason from the neuroscience of communications, which we'll go into next time, is that if they're in their amygdala, two almond-shaped little guys, they're in fight or flight. And if they're in fight or flight, they're not sending information to the neocortex for thinking, reasoning, and problem solving. In essence, they're not hearing a word we're saying. Okay, again, next week we'll go into a lot more about that, but that's one of the reasons why we want to be able to acknowledge. It takes wind out of the sail. It de-escalates the situation. I talk about it like Aikido. If you've ever studied or watched Aikido, you would never, if someone was coming at you, with martial arts or to hurt you, you would never do this. You would just take their weight and help them to the ground nicely so that they can't hurt you or anybody else. You use their weight, their momentum, but you're never doing this. I just got off a call earlier today with a doc, and he said he had a lot of stress because a patient who was not coming along as well as he would like came in with her husband, and she's a people pleaser, but he's a real assertive, aggressive guy. And so I was saying, okay, and he was being very aggressive with the doctor. And so I said, well, how would you acknowledge that? And he was like, well, what do you mean? Well, I would acknowledge, hey, I can't tell you how much I appreciate you coming in. You'd be amazed how many spouses just don't care enough to come in. Thank you so much. When you thank people, when you acknowledge people, it de-escalates the situation. What I want to do is I want to get on your side. I want to acknowledge you and let you know that I'm on your side. I'm here to help. I'm not an adversary. Okay, so I'm not going to fight with people. I am going to be able to use these particular strategies so that we can be on the same side. We want them to know that we care more about them as a human being than we care about keeping them as a patient, our stats, our numbers, our money. Okay, human being first, doctor second. We need them to know that we value them and that we're not just dismissing them. So many of us do that. They come in, we can tell something is wrong, and we go, yeah, go ahead, lay down, right? Like we're thinking, well, I got to get to it, but they need to be heard. They need to be acknowledged, right? I'm going to be going into extreme detail about this on Thursday in the club. As always, you're welcome to jump into the club for a free month if you like. Just put club below and I'll get you in. But I'm going to be going through in each and every one of these with lots of different scenarios of how you do that. Common things that we can do to break relationships is we dismiss them. Yeah, just go ahead and lay down. Yeah, okay, yeah, great, right? We can do that. We can dismiss them. We can make them wrong. We can make them stupid. We can get mad at them. We can blame them. We can make it their fault, not our fault, right? Oh, so you missed doing your exercises 3 weeks ago one time, and 6 months ago you missed one of your appointments. No wonder you're not getting better, right? We can do that kind of stuff. Knock it off, right? So we don't want to do those kinds of things. One of my favorite transition statements is, boy, it's a great question. Why do you ask? My doctor said I should go see a physical therapist. Oh, cool. What do you think? Well, that's a great question. Why do you ask? Right? Like you don't know what they're thinking. They might be thinking, well, that's a stupid idea. They might be thinking that's a great idea. They might be thinking, I want to do that as well as see you. They might think that you're not doing your job. You should have done that. Like, you don't know. You don't have a crystal ball. So great question. Why do you ask is a great way to find that out. So remember I was saying clarifying questions. Okay. So now we get to ask, clarifying questions. With ask, you're asking to better define the problem. When I clarify the problem, the solution becomes self-evident. So I want to better define the problem. I want to make sure that what I heard is what they meant. You know that you have had someone ask you a question, you've gone into your long drawn out answer, and at the end of that, while they're drooling and spit is hitting them back in the face, they go, yeah, okay, but that's not what I meant. What I meant was, right? So I'm going to be asking clarifying questions so I really understand what is going on. I need to dig for pearls. So with an amiable, a non-assertive, it's like pulling teeth to try and get information out of them. Certainly that wouldn't be the case with an assertive or a high D kind of person, but I might be asking questions to draw the story out of them to find out what's going on. We use questions to plant seeds. So talk to me. This area is really lit up again, right around T4, T5. We recognize that oftentimes when you've eaten in this particular way, that it lights that up and you don't really do well, you don't hold your adjustment, et cetera, whatever it is you're saying. How has your diet been? That's very different than, listen, you need to change your diet, right? So it's just, I'm asking clarifying questions to really find the truth and in essence, help them find solutions to their problem. I used to tell people in Hawaii all the time that I would palpate here and I would say, oh, you've been smoking pakalolo lately. You've been smoking dope. And they, oh, yeah. Well, every time you come in, it feels like this. Your cervicals aren't doing well. It feels swollen and edematous, blah, blah, blah. I used to tell them, you need to quit doing this because when you do this, this does this. And they did quit seeing me because they weren't going to stop pakalolo. But if I could show them every time they came in, they'd been smoking, I could feel it and they weren't doing well, they would eventually say to me, hey, listen, what do you think about that? Like, do you think maybe I ought to stop? Right? It's just a whole different experience when I'm asking clarifying questions. Clarify the problem, the solution becomes self-evident. Okay, now let's look at the solution. Robert Bears, thank you so much. I really appreciate that somebody is out there listening, not just me speaking. Solution. So the solution, I was talking to this doctor earlier today about the patient who came in and the husband and blah, blah, blah. And he's going, so what's the difference between solution and resolution? All right, here's the difference. The solution is something that you have come up with that you think will fix their problem. Resolution is you both feel that this is the way forward. It's very different. You need to stay at 3 times a week. That's a solution, right? It may not be what they want to do. They may not ever come back because we didn't get resolution. So in the solution, now that we've asked the clarifying questions and we've defined what's really going on, we can begin to educate them. We can begin to help them see the truth. So earlier when he was talking about this lady who, let me see, her thing was he did these functional medicine tests with her that probably 75% of the time, that's all they need. And there's like a zillion other tests you could do that are $10,000. And so they needed, they did this and now they're going to need to do another test. And the husband was angry, why didn't you do that test in the first place? Right? So acknowledging that, boy, I understand how you feel. And hindsight is 2020. I wish I would have known. The reality is 75% of the time, that's all that's needed. And I didn't want to just cost you a fortune. So I was trying to be as conservative as possible. But, now that we're here, blah, blah, blah. So the clarifying questions, acknowledging helps us find a solution. Now, the solution is simple, right? Now we can, do one other test. We could do a lot more tests. We could do all of the tests. You could just be upset that I didn't have hindsight, at the beginning and not see me again. Like there's all kinds of possible solutions. I just need to find what the resolution is. So what Socrates says is most people given the appropriate information in an appropriate manner will come to the same logical conclusion, quote unquote. So the reality is, says Socrates, ask people the right questions, most people will come up with a logical, conclusion. When it comes to solutions, we want to give real choices. You're going to see in our report of findings, we don't give one real choice and one choice that only a moron would choose. We're not going to do that. You can really get healthy and stay healthy, or you could do temporary band-aid patch-it-up care that only a moron would choose. Which would you prefer? Right? We're not going to do that. So we're going to give real choices, and we don't want to become the angry parent. We don't want to become the patriarchal controller. Well, I'm the doctor and this is what you're going to do. I get it, especially if you're a high D or an assertive. That's our way of doing things. I get that. It just doesn't work in the long run. We're like, no one likes to be treated that way, and people end up eventually quitting. Yeah, some don't, but a lot do. And the reason is when we become the angry parent, we cause people to rebel. We get rebellious children, victim children, and that's not what we want to do. Okay, and then last but not least, we want resolution. So it's not just a quick fix, but it's something that's going to resolve the underlying problem. It's something that they know and we know that this is going to resolve it, right? So it's the difference between during an examination, crack the neck, the headache went away, and recognizing this subluxation could be related to headaches, spaciness, dizziness, mood swings, brain fog. It could be related to all these different things. Do we just want to feel better or resolve our problems? Again, if there's a charged question, Doc, could you not adjust my neck today? We got to find out why. Maybe it's because you hurt them last time. Maybe it's because the low back hurts and they only want their neck adjusted. Again, we've got to be asking these clarifying questions to find a solution so we can know the truth, and then we can come up with a resolution, right? Because I could just tell them, no, I'm the doctor and I'll adjust what I want to adjust. Or we could say, oh, okay. But if we don't really understand why they're asking it or what's going on, then we're going to miss the boat on this. So if we use laser, listen, acknowledge, ask, solution, resolution, it ends up being their decision. Therefore, you're going to have better follow through. Okay. Dang, this is going longer than I wish, but it is what it is. I hope you're finding value in the information. What you're going to find as a rule of thumb, we've all heard, you're going to tell them what you're going to tell them. You're going to tell them what you told them, and you're going to tell them, you're going to tell them what you told them, then you're going to tell them what you told them. We're not going to do that. We're going to tell them, and then we're going to kind of tell them and ask them, and then we're going to ask them and maybe tell them a little bit, then we're just going to ask them. You are going to find that we literally will get 100% of our information across to them instead of the average 25%. And you're going to know it because you're asking specific questions that they get. And if they don't get it, it gives you another opportunity to get that. So you're going to see in the next week, we're going to be diving into that. And the last piece of this is you want to think of sound bites. I want you to think of sound bites instead of long paragraphs. So what is a subluxation? Well, I could go on for hours about that, but if I'm talking to a patient, it's going to be something simple like nerve interference or damage. Simple. Again, you come up with whatever you want. It's not a back problem, it's a health problem. It's not a back problem, it's not a symptom, it's a brain imbalance. My goal is to get them to understand I have a health problem, not a back problem. I want to get healthy and stay healthy, and you can help me do that. So those are just some things I want you to think about. Like, we're going to look at giving them 10 bits of information 10 different times instead of 100 bits of information. There's just no way they can get it all. So in our next one, we're going to be diving into the neuroscience of communications. This Thursday in the club, what we're going to do is we're going to go through this information with several different versions, taking it all the way through, listen, acknowledge, ask, solution, resolution. And I'm going to be asking you what your challenges are. What challenges do you have that you're not sure how to respond to and how to handle? If you're watching this and you're going to be joining the club, but you can't make it at that time, just send me your challenges and I'll answer those. So let me see, anything else? Nope. So I'm going to jump in a second. I'm going to just check and see. Thanks for listening back. Memories of learning. Thanks. Absolutely, Dr. Kmetz. Good, 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 good. Any questions here right now before I head out? Because I'm seeing your posts, which is cool. All right. Thanks so much. Hope you found value in this. Also, what time is the club? The club is Thursday at 11 o'clock, my time, California time. That's what time the club is. And I'll go ahead and send you information on that. And if you are finding value in these, would you do me a favor? Let your friends, colleagues know that if they're a natural healthcare provider, there's lots of great information in this community for free, and that I would love to build this community up. I've really committed to doing this now. I've tried it many times. It hasn't worked, but twice a week I'm in here. I'm doing this. I'm giving really valuable information. So hope that helps. As always, much love and aloha. Bye, gang.